to construct new parks, roads, water and sewer facilities, and other public uses. It is not useful unless it's utilized by the city leadership and staff. And it's not the only planning a city should do, right? So we won't cover everything. We won't be down to every sewer line in this plan. We won't have mapped every city flag, but we will have a pretty good overview of this future of Hooper.
I don't even see the participants on the committee.
Okay,
All right.
Christy, do you want to take it away?
Yeah. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You can? Okay, perfect. The classic Zoom question. Okay. So as was talked about at the very beginning of the meeting, we're going to do a quick activity called words and phrases. If you have a pen and pencil and paper in front of you, you can write it down or just think of words and phrases that come to mind when you think of Hooper. Like we've been saying, we really want to get an idea of how you guys think of Hooper, so that, we don't want to change anything that you don't want changed, and we want to know what you think of Hooper. So don't filter yourself, just write everything down. I'll give you a moment to do that. While you're thinking of words and phrases that describe Hooper to you, I'll just quickly go over what the annotate function is. So at the top of your screen, there should be a green bar that says you are viewing Megan Townsend's screen. And next to that, there's a view options button. If you click that view options button, the third one down says annotate. So if you click on that, it will allow you to, on the next slide, I think we have a blank slide, you'll be able to type in your words and your phrases. And I'll give you some time to do that, and then we can look and kind of go through what surprised you. Oh, got ahead of myself. So yeah, what things were surprising to you? What things are the most interesting to you? Which ones resonate the most with you about how you feel about Hooper? So I'm gonna be quiet for a minute. So if you can't find the annotate option, that's fine. If you want to just put your words in the chat and we can add those to your screen, we can do that, no problem.
Christy, are you seeing the directions on your screen for where to find annotate?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
So again, top middle of your screen. Sometimes it will retract itself if you shake your mouse or something, it might pop up. But again, no problem if you can't find that, you can just put your words in the chat. So Amanda, if you just want to put your words in the chat and I can just throw them up on annotate for you. We got a first word on there, community. Oh, here we go. Farming, friendly, open spaces, sunsets, trails, friendly people. I see someone's got a red squiggly. When the options come up, there's an option to draw, stamp. You're going to want to push text and it will let you type in there.
I'm adding those from the chat as quickly as I can. If I miss yours, you can shout at us.
You're doing great. So I'm going to leave it open for a while, still make sure everyone has an opportunity to say what they want to say. And just see if we can get a grouping of some words and phrases here. Tomatoes, classic, that had to make it on there, right? Country, family. Definitely getting a feel of Hooper in these phrases. Peaceful. If I had to pick out the top 5 themes I'm seeing, I would say community, small town, country, rural. That was one bullet point. Friendly, peaceful, open space. Mosquito.
Okay, am I missing any big ones that aren't up on the screen and someone put their very favorite word in the chat? I missed different. I like that one, Amanda. Okay.
Sorry for the dog screaming in the background. Yeah, so it seems like everyone could agree that community, open space, country / rural / small town, agriculture, family, peaceful. All right, so before the annotate gets cleared, can we make sure that we have that saved?
Got it.
That way we will look back on this and make sure that this is represented as we move forward. Thanks, everyone.
Alex is going to tell us about Hooper today with some data.
Hi, everyone. I think we missed 1 acre lots, Bruce, but we'll put that in post, post meeting, I guess is what you would call it. Okay, so we just wanted to give you a quick overview of some of the existing population and other demographics of Hooper. So as you see, population's almost 10,000, but not quite, 9,000. Households, just under 3,000. And then the household size, it's slightly larger than Utah's average, but not leaps and bounds. The median income is quite a bit higher than the average of Utah, which is sort of to be expected. Housing prices also rising throughout Utah, but we're also seeing housing prices above the Utah average. Persons in poverty, this is probably the biggest difference that the rest of Utah has, and very low poverty rates. I mean, I think we kind of see that in the housing stock and also like the housing community that that Hooper has. Jobs, slightly under 400, with a housing jobs to household ratio of 0.136, and this is a pretty low ratio, as some of you might expect. There's some discussion whether that should go up, or some discussion of whether that should go down or stay the same. And I think, we're not here to make any recommendations today. We're just kind of presenting information, and we're really trying to gather information from everybody. And then the average commute time is 28 minutes, and that's primarily by vehicle. So feel free to chat, or if there's anything unexpected that you're seeing there. Okay, and then from the Kempsey Gardner Policy Institute, we're seeing an average growth of 275 people per year in Hooper. That's a projection based on current trends and some expected forthcoming trends. That could go up, that could go down, depending on various economic and demographic shifts in the population. But that's kind of what the state is projecting right now. So yeah. We can do next slide. And so this is kind of where some of the interesting data that we found to date is. So what we've had out is a survey. Many of you have probably taken it. We've had a really good response rate. We've had over 560 people respond so far. So, really good. Almost 10% of, well, I guess it's not 10%, but yeah, still a really good response rate. And so the first question that we pulled out kind of the survey is, how would you rate growth in Hooper City over the past 5 years? And sort of unsurprisingly from the discussions we've had with the steering committee, the vast majority of the community has said fast or too fast. We're almost at 80% with those numbers. So really fast moving, fast growing city that we're seeing from Hooper. And while growth is happening fast, I think kind of what we're hoping to do with this project is manage the expectations of growth, and based on the kind of exercise we just saw, really identify the desired elements to preserve in Hooper and make sure that those are reflected in the general plan. Another interesting thing of the survey is, parks as a center for meeting and community activity were really strong. We see almost, over 80% of people either strongly agree or agree that parks should be a major factor in community and the community activity for the area. So, that's something we definitely want to reflect in the general plan moving forward as well. And here we have, should Hooper City encourage single family homes on larger lots? Again, this is kind of like a inverse to the is it growing too fast in some degrees, but the vast majority of the community feels that single family homes, either strongly agree or agree that they should be encouraged in Hooper. And whether that means, kind of the traditional suburb developments, or if that means, larger farmland or larger acreage things, that's to be determined in some of the future outreach. And this is kind of an interesting follow-up question to the previous slide question we had of the survey. And so this is, should Hooper City encourage a single should I want my children to be able to stay and live in Hooper? So, it's identifying, okay, maybe we want single family homes, but also something that could accommodate, younger demographics, or, we'll have to figure that out. But it does seem like there's a strong sense that children should be able to live in Hooper as long as they want to. And then the final question that we're going to pull from the survey today is, how frequently do you access the Front Runner Station in Roy? And probably not surprisingly to anybody on this call is, it's not frequent. So, something we could explore is if that frequency is something that, connections could be strengthened, or if, it's not really going to be a major feature of the community. It is kind of a little bit away into Roy, but, there are opportunities to maybe strengthen that if the community so desires. And I do think there is something kind of interesting here, is that while, almost 60% of the residents said that they didn't use the Front Runner Station, but around 40% say they use it occasionally. So maybe there is some demand, maybe not for everybody, but there's some demand that could be explored a little bit more. If there's anybody on the call that hasn't taken the survey, it's going to be open, I think, another week or two. So, feel free to take it, or pass it on to your neighbors and friends, and they can take it too. And then we're going to, compile all the initial survey results and develop a small memo kind of presenting what some of those survey findings were into our existing conditions report. And see, Corey has said, I would use the train more if there was a bus route. So, I mean, that's something that, we'll want to dig into a little bit more. Corey, do you think that there's kind of a sentiment that people would like to do that? Or do you think that's maybe not a strong desire in the community? Well,
oh, interesting. Clearfield might be closer. There's another comment in the chat, Alex, that Clearfield Station might be closer for some than the Roy Station.
That's interesting. Yeah, so we'll have to do kind of like a look at somewhere where the demographic population is the strongest, and then see how that ties in. We see a comment that there was a bus route at one time, but it probably no longer exists. And that could be something, that it gets explored a little bit more with UTA or other service providers. I know something that, they're exploring in the southern part of Salt Lake County is a little more on-demand service where, it's not a fixed bus route, but you can kind of like, I guess you'd call it a mix between bus routes and Uber, where you could call it on-demand Uber type thing, but then it wouldn't be like picking you up at your house. There'd be kind of more fixed stops. So it'd be interesting to, explore a few more of these ideas in the transportation section of the general plan, and we hope to do so with everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks.
Keep in mind those, those survey responses, and if they really are different from how you're feeling about Hooper, or if they resonate with you a lot, one of the really interesting, and these are just preliminary, we're going to continue to collect these survey responses, and this data will change. But early on, it's interesting. We're feeling like we're growing too fast, and then a lot of folks want their kids to live here. So that might be a good thing to discuss in the breakout session later on, kind of what is at the core values of Hooper. So we're going to do a little exercise now, just something small, and kind of an internal reflection. We're going to get into group discussions here shortly. That'll be our main activity for the night, but we want to just spend a few minutes before that having you jot down or sketch or do whatever, your creative expression is just fine here. And just think about what makes Hooper great for you. And that way, going into those group discussions, you'll kind of have thought it on your own first, and then be able to share your ideas with the group. We won't share these unless you want to. You can hold your picture up to the screen, I guess. Okay, hang on to those. And if you want to keep doodling, it's getting late, so that is just fine. Maddie, if you want to jump in whenever you're ready and tell us about the main activity, I think that would be great.
Awesome. So the big activity that we're going to be focusing on will happen in smaller groups, so that more people have a chance to share their thoughts. And we're going to be talking about visioning. So vision is the ability to think about or plan for the future with imagination or your wisdom and experience. So what you're seeing here on the screen, this organizer has steps that are meant to help us identify what the vision of Hooper should be. And I just want to start with some quick definitions so that we're all on the same page. You see these different phrases that are used in the organizer. So when it says core competencies, you can actually switch to the next slide. Thank you. Yeah, when it says core competencies, we're talking about these defining characteristics that set Hooper apart. When it says organization, that could be a couple different things. That could be currently how the city is structured, or maybe how you would want it to be structured in the future. The term environment, you could take that literally if your group really wants to focus on the environment, or you could talk about more of the social or cultural environment. And then finally, those big ones on the far right, the star that has the shooting out of it, that's what we're aiming for. That is vision elements. And those can be things like nouns, but they tend to be stronger when they're written as a phrase starting with a verb. So for example, this comes from the Federal Aviation Administration. They have 8 vision elements, and one of them is promote international partnerships. And so to me, that's more specific than just saying partnerships. And then another example is integrate risk-based decision-making, which is more clear than just saying risk. So those are going to be phrases starting with a verb. And just a moment, we're going to split everyone up into smaller groups. And you're going to work through the steps of this visioning activity to get to those vision elements on the far right. And I'll make sure that we show that again when we get into our groups. And you might decide to begin with sort of the guiding principles or the history to get you started, or your group could decide to start with the vision elements and then work backward from there, whatever makes more sense to you. Each group is going to have a facilitator. So if you need help, we're there to answer questions, but otherwise, feel free to direct the conversation however you see fit. We're going to play this by ear a little bit, but we're aiming for 30 minutes spent on this exercise. And we're going to split you up. And as soon as you see the thing pop up on your screen, and you'll have an option to click join breakout room, you're going to go ahead and do that.